Now, like most major life decisions, it was quite a long and drawn out process which led me to playing my wildcard. And in this video, I'm going to take you through that kind of decision-making process and also my team selection and wildcard draft for Game Week 6. Before I get into this video, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Fantasy Football Hub. If you didn't know already, I'm an affiliate of Fantasy Football Hub, and I can get you 50% off signing up in the description below. This is a limited time offer. It finishes on the 30th of September, so limited time to take advantage of it. All of this video, expected points data, etc., all comes from Fantasy Football Hub, and you can put your team in their AI rating tool yourself to get a Fantasy Football Hub AI rating. It's a fantastic tool to help you with all of your FPL needs, and I get you 50% off with a link in the description. So in order to take you through, I guess, that thought process of mine, it involves looking at my team as it was at the beginning of the game week. So here's how I did in Game Week 5. I'm not going to spend too long going through this and talking about every player. You can see them on screen there. Pretty average team, I would suggest, that I had. 54 points, 571k overall. Not too bad a rank, not too bad a score. But there were a lot of players in this team that kind of had enough of and wanted to get rid of. Guardiola, Robinson, Gordon, Isak were to name a few. And also, just in general, there were some other players that, well, by the looks of it, I really wanted to bring in. So we'll just have a look at how we're lining up, or how I would have been lining up for this game week had I not made any transfers, in kind of the transfers position that I was in, basically. 3 free transfers, 0 in the bank, and this is how I was going to line up. And like I said, I was a little bit tired of Guardiola, a little bit tired of Isak and Gordon not performing, and particularly considering, all of those players were facing one another. There were 3 free transfers that I wanted to make, basically, and I knew in the back of my mind that I needed to make those transfers early, basically, with nothing left in the bank. And I knew in the back of my mind that I would always have my wild card in hand to reset if anything went wrong. I'll talk you through the players that I was looking to bring in, and you can kind of guess what went wrong. So the first player I was eyeing up and brought in early, I actually made an early transfer to bring Gabriel in. He's 6.1 million now, but I got him in on Sunday night for 6 million. I actually transferred him on my reaction stream. So I did the move, and I've got Gabriel in. His goal threat has just been absolutely amazing. He's the top defender, according to Fantasy Football Hub, for expected points over the next 3 game weeks. He's just proven to be a ridiculous goal threat from set pieces. Arsenal, not necessarily this season. I think Liverpool were probably leading the way in terms of expected goals conceded. But over the last couple of seasons, Arsenal have been by far and away the best defence in the league. And there's only been 5 games so far this season, right? So it's not a massive sample size. I think you can definitely say Arsenal were still probably, in my opinion, the best defence in the league, of course, alongside Liverpool. And their upcoming fixtures look really good for clean sheets as well. Leicester and Southampton both at home, and then Bournemouth away. So he's providing a lot of goal threat and has really good clean sheet odds. And I got the sense on Sunday, remembering I have nothing in the bank, right? Look at that team. That's the wrong screen. Look at that team. I've got nothing in the bank. Guardiola, 6 million. Gabriel, 6 million. If I didn't make that move on Sunday, he literally went up on Sunday night, right? So I had to make that move early. I always knew there was a risk, though. Arsenal played Bolton, obviously, midweek in the Carabao Cup. So I knew the risk that could come by making early transfers. Gabriel did get some minutes in that game, but thankfully didn't start. So I brought him in early, but I knew again that I had the wild card in hand should I need to sort it out, basically. The next player I wanted to bring in was Bukayo Saka. If I made some chops and changes to my team, i.e. downgrading Isak to someone cheaper, I was able to upgrade Gordon to Saka. And that's exactly what I did with my team. He looks, in all sense and purpose, I guess, looking at the expected points at least, he looks like he's one of the best players in the game for the next few game weeks. He's obviously Arsenal's talisman, best player, takes penalties, absolutely nailed on the right, plays 90 minutes regularly. Got the Fantasy Football Hub expected points there, which he isn't top of, and you'll see, well, when I go through my captaincy decision, you'll see who is top. But according to FPL Review, which a lot of FPL players like to use as kind of their gospel for picking their teams, their captains, their transfers, etc., the top player for expected points in Game Week 6 is Bukayo Saka, so just something to bear in mind there. And his stats are improving and improving each season, right? Now, don't get me wrong, 6 returns from 5 starts is absolutely fantastic, but a lot of that has come from assists, and he's not really proven to be that much of a goal threat. 1.4 XG from 5 games is not it's not groundbreaking, particularly for a £10 million midfielder, right? And yes, assists are good, they're points bearing, but they don't quite score as many points as goals, of course. So yes, I wanted Saka in. I can see why FPL Review had him top for expected points. 0.66 expected returns per 90, playing Leicester at home and Southampton at home after. You can see he's likely to get attacking returns there. But I would question those numbers that he's put up so far. Is he really worth 10 million at the moment? And could you potentially get very similar sort of output for a bit less? Which maybe also question the potential of bringing in Brian Mbeumo as well. So remember, this is a third player I want to bring in with 3 free transfers. He's obviously ticks all the same boxes as Saka, right? Brentford's talisman, best player, penalties, free kicks, 90 minutes, better than Eze potentially, who is going to share penalties with Mateta, it looks like. 4 goals from 5 starts, probably the best midfielder under 8 million. West Ham at home, Wolves at home, Man United away, fixtures where you could conceivably see Brentford scoring. So yeah, Gabriel, Saka and Mbeumo look like good transfers in. And I needed to bring in a cheaper striker. So here's a clue as to here is who I brought in. So I've got Isak there, who I needed to downgrade, right? And I had to get someone that was less than 5.7 million. And looking at the list of strikers, it was pretty bleak. So early on in the game week, I basically made 3 moves. I did Guardiola to Gabriel. I did Isak to João Pedro, who you've just seen. And I've done Gordon to Saka, which leaves my team looking like this. So before today, and in my kind of transfer plans video that I made, I think that was on Tuesday night, this is how my team was going to line up, which on the face of it looks pretty good. Unfortunately, we got some news from, I think it's Hertzler, is it? The new Brighton manager? I might have butchered that pronunciation, but the Brighton manager did a press conference today to say that João Pedro's out at the weekend. So I used 3 free transfers, early doors, and one of the players that I brought in got injured. Not great. And it's a lesson for anyone watching this to try and avoid early transfers. I think in my particular circumstance where I've got my wildcard in hand, and obviously playing your wildcard wipes any free transfers that you use, I'll have those 3 free transfers next week by playing my wildcard, which of course I have done to kind of save my team. So yeah, those are the transfers that I made. I had to do them early, otherwise I'd have been priced out of them and wouldn't be able to do it. Literally, I think Gordon went down in price again, and then I was completely priced out of making the move. So I saw that Gordon, was going down in price. I brought Saka and João Pedro in, and then literally 2 hours later, Gordon went down in price, and then I wouldn't have been able to make the move. So I was kind of time restricted in terms of price changes to make it happen. And ultimately, if I didn't make that move, I just would not be happy with my team, basically. So I did it, and that's the kind of position that I've ended up in. I've got a doubtful João Pedro. I could potentially line up with a 4-4-2, leave João Pedro on my bench and just start Robinson in a kind of 4-4-2. But given I've got my wild card in hand and there are other good options in the game that I don't have ownership of at the moment, I thought playing my wild card, giving myself those three free transfers back, it's really hard to say that, isn't it, would be the best course of action. And here is where I've ended up then on my wild card. So I've got 3 free transfers in the bank for next week, 0 in the bank. Flecken in goal, I went for. I think he just has the edge on Dean Henderson in terms of accumulated saves across the season. I think he's averaging 5.6 saves per game, which is the most of, I think, any goalkeeper in the Premier League. And you look at the upcoming fixtures Brentford have got, I think he could do really well. I've gone for Gabriel, obviously explain how good he is. Trent, I really like Trent. I think this season he's not having a new breakout year, but I think he's becoming that just absolute premium defender that we may have missed from him maybe last season, right? The guy has kept 4 clean sheets in 5 games, and his attacking data is incredible. He's putting up 0.49 expected returns per 90. I'm just going to compare him, well, look at João Pedro, for example, a player that was highly owned and was popular, at least when he was fit. He's only putting up 0.37. And he's, arguably, when he's fit, one of the best attackers in the game. And Trent is beating those numbers from an underlying numbers perspective. And he can get points for clean sheets. And he's kept 4 of them in 5 games. So, he's a player that's really good from an attacking perspective. Exceptional for a defender from an attacking perspective, right? So obviously, well, he is the leading defender in the league for that statistic. And he's kept 4 clean sheets in 5 games. So I really wanted a piece of him. And then when you look at, I don't know, just when you compare him to other midfielders of a similar price, like I personally think he's probably competitive with Mbeumo, but I do think he's probably miles better than Eze, given he's also on free kicks as well. Yeah, I really like him as an option. Colwill I've gone for as well, and Aina as a sort of doubling 2 defenders. I am a little bit torn, and this might change before the deadline, by the way. You might see in my deadline stream, I have a slightly different defensive setup. I really want to get Rico Lewis in as well, potentially. I don't know why that stat says there. So basically, I'll end up with 3 free transfers and 0.2 in the bank. So I could get Rico Lewis in for one of these guys if I wanted to. But I quite like the surety of Aina and Colwill starting. So kind of the decision I have to weigh up is, do I want to go for, you know, a slight minutes risk in Rico Lewis that, you know, arguably is going to... what am I trying to say? Is arguably going to score, you know, more points per game, I guess, than the potential of Aina and Colwill. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. 4 million defender, might change from Johnson to... probably should change from Johnson to Greaves, to be fair. And I've got a toss-up between... I've forgotten his name now. There's a very good Southampton midfielder for 4.5 million. Someone can correct me in the comments about that guy, who I could get in instead of Winks as well. But, you know, thinking of a wildcard draft... this is probably the best one I could come up with, and to be honest, I'm really quite happy with this team. Final decision to be made then on captaincy, and looking at the way it's turning out in terms of Fantasy Football Hub expected points, it's pretty close between 3 players. Well, actually 4 players to be fair. Palmer and Saka relatively even, so I would agree with that to be fair. I think Cole Palmer is obviously a really good option. He's got a decent fixture against Brighton. Saka, I would argue, a little bit of a better fixture, but probably a bit less of an FPL asset in my mind. I do think game by game, Palmer is probably the better option, but I would say Saka's fixture is better. And then obviously Haaland and Salah are the other two, just leading the way kind of every week. There's very little between Salah and Haaland at the moment, and just judging by the way that the game's going, with a lot of at least engaged managers playing their wild card, and unlike me, a lot of their drafts do not have Salah in. So I think quite a lot of engaged managers, and likely your competition if you're watching this video in this game basically, will be selling Mo Salah. And I really don't mind the thought of captaining Salah if you still have him, because it'll be a nice differential. And Newcastle, right? Yes, they've been really poor this season, don't get me wrong. But at St James's Park, I swear, Newcastle could beat and keep a clean sheet against anyone. There's something quite magical about St James's Park in the way that Newcastle play there. I don't know what it is, but they really do have much better form at home than they do away. And I don't think in his entire time playing for Man City, I might be wrong, I don't think he scored at St James's Park yet. So, yeah. I don't really like those records, but just something to bear in mind. For me, I think I will be giving the captaincy, though, to Erling Haaland. Yeah, I mean, the guy's just a robot, right? He scored a biblical number of goals already this season, but I can definitely see a case for Salah. You know, particularly if you're getting the vibe that a lot of your maybe mini league rivals are selling him to wildcard Saka in, for example. I really like the idea of giving Salah the captaincy. All right, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. If you did, please leave me a like rating. You know, yes, I could have just gone through my wildcard draft in this team selection, but I wanted to tell a story of how the week's folded out in terms of my team selection, right? Because it's just useful, I hope, to get an idea of what I'm thinking about when picking my teams. And yeah, let me know in the comments if there's any changes you'd make to that wildcard draft of mine. I don't think there's anything else left to say. Again, Fantasy Football Hub, that 50% off discount I get you runs out on the 30th. So if you want to take advantage of it, you've obviously got limited time to do so. There's a link to get you 50% off in the description. I think that's everything. If you enjoyed the video and haven't already, please subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just there on your screen. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video.